Hey everybody, Kevin here with a special guest. Say hi, special guest.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about, is a minivan too small for van life? And what is your opinion on, is a minivan too small?
No, it's not. Because we did it.
There you have it, folks, and we'll see you next time. I'm joking. Let's get together a little more detail in here.
It's better than a car.
It's better than a car.
Because we done that with tents.
Yes, so you do at least have inside shelter from bad weather.
Yeah, you feel a little bit safer inside your car.
You feel a little bit safer than in the van than you would be if you were traveling in a car, because then you'd be in a tent most nights.
Right.
So at least you do have a hard shell around you if you're in areas with animals or weird people or whatever. So that's a good point.
And you can make a bed for it, so you're not sleeping on sleeping bags. You actually have a nice, comfortable bed.
It is amazingly comfortable, and I think most people wouldn't necessarily think that until they try. But these 4-inch, 5-inch, whatever foam mattresses, I think we have 4-inch ones in the minivan. They're more comfortable than the bed at the house.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, it's no problem at all.
And you still have room to sit up, and it's comfortable.
If you build it the right way, like we did, without trying to have giant storage crates under the bed. So we did ours low enough, like they'll see in the van build video if they didn't watch that we built it low enough to where we could actually sit up in bed and sit on the side of the beds with the doors open and such. So, but we did sacrifice a little bit of storage space in order to do that.
Yeah, but the trade-off is worth it. It's probably easier if you don't take a lot of stuff with you.
That's the key, is figuring out what to take and what not to take and what you don't need. And there's a lot of disagreement in that sometimes with simple things like in the minivan, basically everything you throw on the bed during the day when you're traveling, you're going to have to move at night. And you're going to have to move into the front seats and the front floorboard or the dashboard or what have you. So the more stuff you take that you don't need, the more stuff you have to constantly move every time in order to get ready for bed or make the bed or what have you. So that's where I am happy with not having even things like folding tables, folding chairs, because I don't want to be moving that stuff constantly. It would be nice to have a little folding table to sit out every once in a while, but again, that's why I did the van that way, that we could sit on those mattresses with the doors open, so we wouldn't need folding chairs. But if you're somewhere and you go to an event or there's people next to you, and you're going to go over and hang out with them or whatever, around a campfire, it would be nice to have a folding chair, but that's one of the things that I'm willing to sacrifice. And generally, if you're in a campground that you're doing such things anyway, and you're that close to people that you are kind of roaming from site to site and talking to people, and there's people doing campfires and what have you, generally there's picnic tables at every one of those spaces. So you can get by without the chairs. That's my thoughts on it anyway.
I, on the other hand, like to take everything that I don't need and then some. Because my theory is someday I might need that.
My theory is I can buy it used, cheap, on the way. I can find it somewhere if I need it. Thrift stores, Dollar Generals, somewhere for most things. And it is worth me having to spend $5 or $10 on something that I need for a little bit of time and then dispose of it, rather than try to drag it on a 5,000-mile round trip and have to move it 4 times every day.
Yes, but when we didn't see the Grand Canyon and it snowed and the temperature dropped, Who had sweatpants and jackets and gloves?
You did, and the mistake we made, because the only thing I really used from what you took was your gloves, and I had a toboggan that I always have somewhere. So basically I made use of gloves, and you made use of a few things. But I was still in shorts even though it was snowing.
Well, yeah, you're probably on a YouTube video in Japan right now.
But somebody else's video, yeah. Look at the silly American.
Well, yeah, they were pointing at him and going, look at that. In another video, we'll have to show you. He tells me to take one bag. Okay, I can do that.
Yes, a small duffel bag.
Well, you didn't say small. You just said one bag.
Well, that's true. I didn't know it was going to be 9 foot long.
It's my one bag.
One bag.
Fit everything I needed in it.
That's a lot like the wino that says, I'm only going to have one beer, and he goes out and buys the 40-ounce Colt 45. I'm just going to have one.
So I could take a smaller bag, but I always like to take a backpack because you never know. If you go hiking, you might need something, and you can always put first aid stuff in a backpack. So I would have to at least have 2 bags. One for the necessities and one for backpacking. Because you can find some neat stuff along the way.
Women and men obviously see some of these issues differently.
Come on, ladies, tell me what you think.
But again, I want it as simple as possible. And the first town I come to, I'm sure there is somewhere that I can buy something cheap to keep me warm if I have misjudged. If not, I'll probably be shaking and look so pathetic that somebody will come by and give me something. So either way, I'm good. That's what I'm counting on. Little Japanese people will come by and give me a scarf. But no, we're kind of talking about this from a disadvantage standpoint. And, you know, there are advantages in going in that minivan in that smaller vehicle. And some of those off the top of my head, one is going to be gas mileage. On a trip we went in the minivan, round trip was about $700 in gas, and in that larger white van that you see, if we make that same trip, it's going to be about $1,200 in gas. So you're talking a $500 difference to make that almost across the country round trip, roughly 5,000 miles. So $500 is a big knock on the budget if you're doing that more than once, or if you're going to be doing that once a year.
And you can take the minivan places you can't take the big van.
You actually can take the minivan places you can't take the bigger van, cargo vans, size vans. That is true. And the minivan being front wheel drive is an advantage for some of the oddball places that you end up, because it actually does pull pretty well. Your basic maintenance is generally going to be a little bit cheaper, just as far as, you know, things like a ball joint or basic things like tires are going to be cheaper because they're going to be smaller. I think you have another advantage when you get into the Midwest and start getting into the West again, because you hit into some areas of Texas, Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, wherever, that you have higher speed limits. And you hit into places that actually go up to 80 miles an hour on 2-lane roads. And even though a lot of that is flat, it's still harder to drive a big vehicle at 80 miles an hour. Whereas driving that minivan at 70 and 80 miles an hour isn't a big deal. But that bigger vehicle, larger vans or any type of camper van, RV, for one, you're going to murder your gas mileage if you're trying to go that fast. And second of all, it's just harder to drive. I mean, this is a bigger vehicle is going to be more unstable at those speeds. So there's going to be a side-by-side comparison of the minivan compared to the much larger van. I've been promising that for a long time, but I have to actually get those 2 vehicles in the same location, which logistically just hasn't worked out for the last few months. So when I do get them in the same place at the same time, then that video is definitely coming. And since we've been talking about clothes a lot in this vehicle, there's going to be a more detailed video coming on exactly what clothes we do carry and how we pack them. And I think my side of that will be much more valuable because I'm carrying much fewer items. But I have some good tips and things on conserving space, and that's one of the benefits of having been in the military. You learn that you only have so much space, and everything you have is going to have to go in that space. And there are no exceptions to that. So anyway, lots of good things coming up, and we'll see you next time.